another Ubiquiti POE switch. A viewer called Adam sent me this, and he said that the power supply is actually good in this one, and the fault appears to be on the motherboard. So this might be a bit more interesting, this one. That's a little note that he included with it, saying that it's got a known good power supply, but some mainboard faults. So let's have a look at it and see if we can figure out what the problem is. So there's a couple of screws on the back that we need to remove, so let's remove those. Let's pop those down there. And then I think the top slides off these, if I remember. Let's try and give it a little bit gentle persuasion with the screwdriver here. Right. Let's zoom down a bit. So this is a slightly different design to the power supply on the other unit that I looked at, because the other one had a silver heat sink all the way across the top, and this one doesn't, although it still has the cap X on capacitor in it. So let's have a look over this board, see if we can see anything. Let's just zoom down a bit more. Looks like quite a number of fuses there. I guess there's 8 of them, one for each of the PoE ports. I can't see any blown components or anything obvious up to now. So I think the next thing that we'll do is we'll plug it in, we'll get the meter on it, and we'll see if we get things like voltages and whatever, clocks maybe. Right, I'll just zoom out a bit, and I'll just go and grab a power lead. Right, back with a suitable power lead. I'll just zoom out a little bit more. Let's plug it in, and then we'll see if we get voltages. Let's grab the test meter. I'm just going to volts DC. And let's see what we've got on the power supply first of all. And get my probes in there. And we've got 53.57. So I think that's right. So can we identify any voltages on here? Well, I can see 3.3 there, so let's check if we've got 3.3 there. And we do. Looks like there's a number of other power supplies around here. Obviously I'm not too sure what the voltages should be on them. Looks like we've got a 0 ohm resistor there. Well, that doesn't look quite right, does it? I would assume we'd have a voltage on there or something. So I wonder if there's a short or something on here. Or if something like one of these capacitors have gone. Let's see what we get on those. That doesn't look right either, does it? I wonder if the thermal camera will show anything up. I'm just going to grab the thermal camera. So I'll just move this forward a bit. Well, I can see a few hot spots there. think that's that chip there, yeah. That's that small IC here. Let's just find something to point with a second. So I don't know what that is there, but it's getting a little bit hot as well. I mean, there's a few things getting hot, but I wouldn't say there's anything that really stands out. Just looking at the power supply there, looks like there's a little bit of heat just coming from there. Well, I'm not seeing anything that I would say like, oh yeah, that's it. I'd say that component in the middle there looks about the brightest. So I wonder what that is. Let's just zoom down a bit and see if I can see what it is. And it looks like a diode. So that diode there. I think I'll unplug this a second and then we'll just see if we've got any shorts or whatever. But then again, that's probably on the output of this transformer, I would think. I mean, this is obviously a little power supply, that's probably the driver IC. That's probably the switch and MOSFET. And that'll be the output, I would think. So it could be a short somewhere on the output here, and it's just making that diode go hot. Right, so I'm just going to unplug this. I'll just give it a minute or two to discharge. Right, been a couple of minutes. So let's see. Well, we don't have a short on that diode. That measures okay. I'm just on diode check at the minute. That measures okay. So not that. Let's just zoom back out again so you can see the meter. Let's move this board along slightly. So I wonder if there's a, tell you what, we'll try this MOSFET here. I don't appear to have any shorts there. Nothing there. Ah. Well, we seem to have something going on round about here, I think. I'm getting a very low reading there. 18 ohms. Let's try the other way. 15 ohms. So there's a bit of a slight difference there, but it seems quite low. Let's see if one of those is ground. So that one is ground, this side. On this side we're getting about 19 ohms. Let's just see what we get on that capacitor. We're getting about 19 ohms on there. So I'm just wondering if one of these capacitors has failed, or whether there's a short further down the line. So what I might do is just get the bench power supply and we'll try injecting 1 volt at 1 amp or something like that, and then we'll increase the amperage and we'll just see if anything starts getting hot. I think that might be the way to do this one. So I can use those 2 pads there. I'll put a ground wire on here, and then we'll put some voltage into here. Right, I'll just go and sort that out. Right, I've soldered a couple of wires on, and positive was on this side and that side was negative. I've removed the heatsink and I've removed the board from the actual carrier so we can have a look. I haven't got the power supply switched on yet. I'm just getting it ready there. So let's get the thermal camera out. Let's switch the power supply on and see if we can see anything. And it's nearly drawn an amp, but I'm not really seeing anything getting hot. I'll just check the other side of the board. Nope. Right, I'll switch the power supply off and we'll try going to 2 amps. Right, so this is 2 amps now. And it's drawn 1.8. Well, there doesn't appear to be anything getting hot still. Possibly the main chip. But I'm not seeing anything else. Yeah, the main chip is getting slightly warm. So it may just be that that chip has a very low resistance internally. I don't know. So that hasn't really shown me much. Well, the thermal camera didn't reveal anything. So I've put the heatsink back on, I've put some new thermal compound on it. I don't know whether to hook this back up to the power supply, and I think I'll take the little front light off the front panel and we'll just connect it here. I just want to see if we're getting any lights on it or anything, because the only thing is we can't see whether there's any activity at the moment. And I know it's supposed to have a front panel indicator, but it's a bit hard to connect that up when it's connected to the lid. So I'm going to unscrew that. I'm going to get the base. I'll plug this back in. I'll just go and unscrew the little light. So 1 moment please. And back with the little indicator light. So I'll plug that in. It's got 2 little LEDs just there. I'll plug the power supply back in. Let's just see if there's any activity or anything. Might as well see if we can measure some voltages as well while we're on. I'm just going to see if there's anything on. I don't know if that's me on the ground, probably there or what. Well, I've got 3.3 there. We've got a 1.5 there. a 5 volt there, a 12 volt, so I guess those 4 power supplies are running. Let's see if we get anything on this one. And then I'm getting a couple of weird readings like this where it's bouncing up and down. I mean, perhaps that's a different ground or something to the rest of them, I'm not sure. I wouldn't have thought so, but... Oh, we don't have any lights on it. I'm not sure where to go next with this one. I mean, we've got this header here. I might hook the scope up and just see if we get any activity on here. I mean, we've got a voltage on that pin there. I wonder if the meter would show anything. I'll just switch it off a sec. I'll get the scope out. We'll hook the scope up to that pin. We'll just see if it's even processing or what. Like I said, I'm not 100% on this one at the moment, so I'm not sure whether we'll be to do anything with this. But right, I'll get the scope set up. I'm just going to use one of these DuPont wire things here as a ground. I'll just go on there. And let's see if we get anything on any of these probes. I'll switch it on. So that's the 3 volts. Nothing on that pin. I think I'm getting anything on that pin either. So it looks a bit dead. I'll just try that again, just in case. No. Looks like we've got something there. Looks like we had something there for a second. I'm just going to get this probe clamp thing. We'll just put that on there. I think I've seen a brief flash of something there. Oh, there's something going on. I'll just switch that off and back on again. I'm just going to pause with trace there, and then I'm going to zoom in just so I can see what the value of each bit is, and it's about 8 microseconds. So I believe 8 microseconds is 115/200 baud rate. So I might get the laptop out now and we'll try hooking the laptop up to it, see if that gives it any additional information. But at least it seems to be processing or doing something, so that's interesting. Right, I'm going to get the laptop then in a serial to TTL converter. Right, I've got the laptop set up, and what I've got here is a TTL to serial converter. And what that does, it'll get the signals that are present on this port here. They go down the cable, and this chip then converts them into a USB signal that we can then analyze with the computer. So I'm going to run a program called PuTTY. So we'll just go over to the computer screen, and I've already got a connection saved. That'll open the serial port, so I'll just load that up, and that's going to open COM port 4 at the speed of 115/200. So open that, and I'll just make this window a little bit bigger, and then we'll power this on and we'll see what we get. And we are getting something. So it does appear to be doing something. It seems to have stopped here now. Did not find valid RD data delay. So that's read data delay possibly. And remember, SMU was something to do with memory, if I remember right, on Broadcom systems. Oh, it's doing something else now. Let's just give it a moment. It might be booting up. It seems to have froze again. Oh, and it's away again. DDR tune complete. 3.8 gigabyte it says, or gigabit. Well, it's gigabyte or gigabit, but anyway. Well, I don't know if it's doing anything else now, or if it's just stopped. Let's just scroll back a bit. So this is when it started. Ah, look here. Running simple memory test failed. So I wonder if this has got a problem with its RAM. Just with the display in that. Because it looks like it's trying to calibrate the RAM there, and then it's just stopped. So I wonder if this has got a RAM problem on the RAM chip. Right, I'm just going to unplug it a sec. Let's see if I can find out where the DRAM is. I'll just disconnect this serial converter for now. Let's get the laptop out of the way a little bit so I've got a bit more room. Let's take this board back out. Just zoom down a bit. Well, we've got a couple of chips on the bottom. I don't think any of those look like DRAM. I don't know what that one is actually. Let's see if I can have a look through my little spyglass here. It is actually, I think it is possibly in memory, I see that one. MX25L25645GMI. So I'm not sure if that's the flash chip. And that just looks like a little logic chip, that. So that might be the flash chip. So where's the RAM? Let's pop this heatsink back off. Let's move this power supply back a little bit. So that might be the RAM there. Let's just see if we can zoom down a bit on that. So that looks like SCB13H2G160, possibly. I'm just going to have a quick search on that number and I'll see what it is. Well, I've had a look on the internet and I can't find any information on that chip. I'm pretty sure it's a RAM chip, the chip on the other side, and I've searched the number of that one, that's definitely the flash chip, so that must be the RAM. So what I might do is just try, I've got some BGA flux type, like liquid flux I can get down there, and I could try reheating it up with the Rework station, just in case it's got any bad solder balls or something on it. That's the only thing I really think I can try for now. So I think I'll give that a go. I think I'll get the microscope set up, and then we'll try reheating or reflowing that IC. Right, I'll set the microscope up. Let's try and get some of this flux. Hopefully under the chip. I'll see if I can just get it to run down there. Get a better view of the chip there now. I'll try some from the other side as well. And I'll just refocus the microscope. Right, let's try and get some hot air on this then. Right, I'm seeing that move there, so hopefully I haven't moved it too much. Well, I've just left it a few minutes to cool down, and I was worried whether I'd moved the chip too much. But when we look down the side there, and this is the side that I moved, you can actually see all of the balls there still look intact. They're not joined together or anything, so I think we're okay on this one. I don't know if it's made any difference or not though. I'll just try and look at the other side. Might have to refocus. Yeah, those look okay as well. I don't know if they seem a bit more down at that side than this side. Or it's just the angle of the, no, it's just the angle of the, microscope, I think. Right, I think we'll give it a go. Right, put that back here. We'll pop the heatsink back on, and I'll connect it back up to the computer so we can see if there's any change in the output. Right, we'll grab the laptop again. Right, got to connect it to the computer again. So let's see if it does anything different now. I should scroll back a little bit just to see what it said about the running simple memory test failed. So I wonder if that RAM chip has failed. Let's just let it run through its thing again here, because it might have messed up all the settings just while it's been trying to, I don't know, calibrate the RAM or something. Is that saying more memory? Because before it only said 3.2, now it says 15.9. Just seeing if anything's, I'm sure it said 3.2 the last time. I'll scroll back, see if I can find, it might be past the buffer now though. Yeah, it says 3.8, and now it says So it's definitely done something different, let's say. I'm just having a look at the status lights here to see if anything's happening, but it still doesn't seem to be booting up. So it's been a couple of weeks since I last looked at this, and what I'm planning on doing is removing the RAM chip and replacing it with a different one. Now I have removed the RAM chip from this old TV board here, but I still need to reball it and then fit it in this, and we'll see if it does anything different. It's not quite the same RAM chip, but it is a DDR3 chip, and hopefully the smooth calibration routine will pick up the parameters and hopefully make it work. Right, first thing I want to do is reball this. So I'm going to get this under the microscope. Voiceover mic here. I didn't have a stencil for the DDR3 RAM, so what I had to do was painstakingly move all the balls into position by hand. And then I realised that I'd used the wrong size balls because I'd used 0.6mm instead of 0.45, so then I had to do it all over again, twice. But anyway, I got there in the end, and as you can see, all of the balls are all nicely on the chip. Right, let's get some hot air on this chip and we'll see if we can remove it. Right, I'm going to put some fresh flux on this. Just going to spread it around a bit, I think. Right, let's get this new chip in place. I think that's about it. I think that's it, because it seemed to spring back into place when I just give it a gentle nudge there. Right, so we'll hook it back up to the PC and we'll see if it's doing anything different. Now I'm not too hopeful with this one because somebody else had the same problem and they said they changed the RAM chip and it did exactly the same. So whether or not it's some problem with the main chip or something, I have checked the resistors here and I seem to be getting readings on them, and the same on the back side of the chip here. There's some other resistors and capacitors, and I've checked those and those seem okay as well. So right, let's see what it does now then. I've got the serial converter hooked up, power lead ready to plug in. We'll just go over to the laptop. I've got putty all set up there, so we'll just plug this in. Ooh. I'm not sure if it's just paused now, if it's froze or... Oh. I still don't think it's doing what it should though. So I think it looks pretty much the same, because I'm sure on these graphs here we're supposed to have sort of lines when it hits a sweet spot, and it just doesn't seem to be finding anything there. So it looks pretty much the same. So I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to fix this one or not. Well, I thought I'd just check a couple of voltages and things. It's just booting up there. I'm just going to ground here. I think there's a couple of capacitors next to the RAM chip here. So we'll just see what voltage we get on those. We're getting a 0.7 there. And 1.5. 1.5. I'm not sure what these resistors are for. But we seem to have voltage going to here, and I guess that probably feeds this chip. So I don't think we're going to be able to repair this one. I know somebody else had a one, and what happened with their one was the main system on chip here, the pads had actually broke away from the board. I think he tried to remove the heatsink. I did try applying pressure onto the chip, but it still does exactly the same. So we can measure the resistors, but the problem is none of them have got markings on, so even if we get a reading, we don't know if the reading's right. So I wasn't sure if I'd soldered the chip on correctly or not, and I thought I could check it in my new X-ray machine here. So let's pop it in and we'll see what it looks like. Just wait for it to finish processing. Let's just zoom in. I'll just adjust the contrast a little bit. And we can see all of the solder balls just here, and there's none shorted, so that looks spot on. It looks like that's soldered on perfect. You can actually see the resistors underneath between some of the, or capacitors between some of the pads underneath. So that answers my question, have I soldered the chip on correctly? And I would say yes. I don't think we're going to be able to get any further with this one, but hopefully you still found it interesting, you know, connecting up the serial converter and things and connecting it to the laptop and that, give her a little bit more information. But unfortunately I think that's about as far as we can go with this one. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it the thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, please subscribe. Any comments or questions, leave it in the comment section below, and as always, have a great day. Thanks for watching.